Arkansas is going to have a rivalry game against LSU, and I'll talk about this in my preview episode, but while you're here, I just wanted to mention, last year the spread was Arkansas plus 42. This year the spread is Arkansas minus 2 in Vegas. That's how far Arkansas football program has developed throughout this whole entire year, and I guess that can be considered LSU's loss of talent and the hire of Bo Pelini in the grand scheme, but that just shows you the amount of work that Sam Pittman has put into this program.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you, go ahead right now. I know you're making predictions for your next episode, but I'm going to go ahead and give you mine. I think Arkansas is walking out of there with the boot. I just don't see it. I don't see LSU having the defense. I think Felipe. I just don't see it. I mean, this LSU team is so different from what it was last year, and we all expected that. They lost everybody. Justin Jefferson, Joe Burrow, their offensive coordinator, Joe Brady. That was the situation last year. It was just a perfect storm, and that perfect storm has faded away. So now I really think this is going to be the program-changing win, in my opinion, for Arkansas. I think the boots are coming back to Fayetteville.
I do too. I'm obviously going to get more detail into that after I take a bigger look at the stats and all. But like you said, I think getting wins in rivalry situations and the defending national championship is a big inspiration for the players, for the recruiting, and everything. Obviously, the 2020 class is probably already wrapped up. 2021. We're looking forward at 2020. 2022, 2023, and even 2024 now. I mean, college football recruiting has gone crazy. You're seeing guys who are like freshmen in high school and have played 2 games getting SEC offers. I mean, each school is just trying to get out on top of each other and be that first program to talk to this guy and try to get him to come down to their school. Obviously, though, I'm going to say Arkansas is going to win that game, but I gotta save that. I gotta save that for later.
Gotta save that. And mention the recruiting thing. I feel like a win like that, and honestly, I feel like the win against Mississippi State changed that a lot too, because that was a huge win. Not only was their first SEC win in a long time, it was against a ranked team that was just coming off beating the national champions. I mean, and that's what I think changed a lot with Florida finally getting over that hump against Georgia. For the past 3 seasons, Georgia has beaten Florida, and all the recruits have seen that and thought, all right, Georgia's doing something special. They keep beating their biggest rival. Let's go over there. But now, Florida finally getting that big win. Not only that big win, but they destroyed Georgia. Georgia was just demolished in every facet of the game. That changes everything in terms of the recruiting. I feel like Florida now has its best opportunity it has had in a long time to finally jump Georgia and take back the SEC East throne for a long period of time.
Yeah, I think you look at the top programs in the country who are constantly top 5 in recruiting, and they have the best facilities. They have all of this stuff right, but what separates them from other programs is the on-the-field performance. Texas, University of Texas. The Longhorns obviously aren't having that good of a year as they imagined, and we saw that when the number 1 quarterback in the 2022 class decommitted, and we had a ton of guys, leave that program and look at other options from that whole class. I think the downfall of programs is recruiting. You look at Arkansas. This time last year, we were losing recruits like crazy before Chad Morris was fired. We were down to 6 recruits when everything was said and done when Pittman came in. And he brought this class to, I think, number 31 in the nation after we were 121st. So Sam Pittman, obviously, he promised a lot to these guys, and to see that promise pay off, I think is very good, because you offer that same promise to the guys now, and you're like, hey, I know we may not be Alabama, LSU. We may not be at this level where, you guys are now, but we will get there. And you look at what we did this last year. We went from losing 21 SEC games in a row, and all of a sudden we have 3 wins and potentially even 4 if Auburn officials knew how to call a game correctly.
Oh my God, I was so mad at that game. Oh my Lord.
I was so upset about that, and the way I dealt with it is actually I made a tweet, and it was like all these football referees, and it's like, breaking news, Auburn releases new uniforms. And it got like 2,000 likes. So I was like blowing up on Twitter and all.
There we go.
And then at the same time, Arkansas got beaten. I was getting followers out of nowhere, and it was great for my podcast as I saw a pretty good jump in downloads. But then I'm like, we really just got screwed out of beating Auburn.
Oh, yeah. You guys got
hired Chad Morris.
100% got screwed out of that one. Like, I was watching that game, and I get pretty animated, but I have never been that animated before when it's not my own team. Like, when that happened, I was just like, how do you screw that up? It was plain as day, man. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, SEC officiating hasn't been too hot. Unless you're Auburn, then you love them.
Unless you're Auburn, yeah. Unless you have them on your payroll.
Yeah, unless you're slipping them chicks after the game. But hey, man, thank you for coming on today's show. I enjoyed it a ton. Where can the listeners find your podcast, and what do you talk about for anybody who would like to listen to your stuff and all that stuff?
The Robson Sportscast is available on almost every major platform. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We are on a lot of major platforms. You can find us on there. You can also find us on Anchor. And we just talk about everything on the Robson Sportscast. Football, basketball, baseball. We talk a little bit of hockey. Haven't talked about it yet, but I plan on it once I actually learn a little bit more about hockey because, I'm from Virginia. We don't exactly have hockey around here that often. But we talk about a little bit of everything, a lot of predictions, a lot of fun little mini games I play there. Hoping to eventually here, probably around early, mid-December, bring on a college football blogger who I've had on the show before. She was awesome. Hoping to have her back on. We'll talk a lot of college football. That'll be closer to college football playoff time and probably closer to conference championship time. Making a lot of predictions there. It's really fun. The Robson Sportscast, we keep on growing, and I hope to have you all listening soon.
Yeah, definitely, guys, go check him out. I love his content over there. Obviously, Arkansas basketball's coming up. I'll release my preview and everything here in a few days. However, Arkansas does play Florida in basketball this year on the 16th of February. So make sure to stay tuned for that because I guess in a couple months down the road, I'll have Robson Sportscast back on the show to talk about all things Florida basketball and Arkansas basketball.
Get to figure out how much I hate Mike White, our head coach.
But thank you guys for listening to today's episode. If you like what you're hearing, you can find all ways to listen and all social medias at allhawksports.com. And as always, don't forget, woo pig, and I guess chomp on as well.
Go Gators, baby. Chomp, chomp.
That's all for today's episode of All Hog Sports with Sam Stimpson. Make sure to stay tuned for the next episode covering all Arkansas Razorback sports. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on social media too. On Twitter and Instagram at All Hog Sports Pod. Like on Facebook at All Hog Sports and Arkansas Razorbacks Podcast. And on YouTube at that same name. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Go Hogs!